And who's already made an impact on the season so far. Jody Hendricks, independent sports analyst, and Sipho Kekana, SABC digital news sports journalist, join me to discuss this. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you for coming through.
Hey, Kennel, thanks for having me.
Morning, Kennel.
All right, brilliant. Now, let's get straight to it. With the PSL transfer window closing over the weekend, gentlemen, which transfers have stood out for you? Let's start with you, Jody.
Well, for me, there's two. The one will only take effect next season. That's, of course, Keegan Dolly moving from Ajax Cape Town to Mamelodi Sundowns. I think it was a good buy for Sundowns. Keegan Dolly is a young player. He's been called up to the Bafana squad to play this weekend. So they got him, I think, really cheaply, if you consider if they had to buy him in a season or two. And the other one, of course, is Majoro leaving Kaizer Chiefs, controversially, to join Orlando Pirates. He and his agent has now also have a case where the agent is suing him for 10% of the deal that he was working on for him at SuperSport United. But, you know, both players, talented players and in demand, and I'm not surprised that clubs are interested in them.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I agree with Jody here about Keegan Dolly. He's been fantastic. He's a youngster with a very, very, very bright future ahead of him. And any player, any club would be very, very fortunate to have his services. So I think it was a good catch for Sundowns, even though he's still at Cape Town. Yeah. But another player that Sundowns have signed is Mameni Young. It was a bit of a surprise for me to see Pito sign him based on his philosophy of playing. I'm talking about Pito. But I thought he was not going to actually gel into the team. But it seems that Pito had his own thoughts, perhaps wanting to make sure that he plays with a lanky striker there and yes, whipping crosses, the kind of approach. And he's been doing very, very well for Mamelodi Sundowns.
Let's touch quickly on some of the guys that you've mentioned so far. Let's start with Mameni Young. He has scored one goal already in 5 appearances in this new season. He's doing fairly well, like you say. He's linked up very nicely in the team. And it was a straight swap for Dove Wome, who went through to the other side and went and joined SuperSport United. But interesting enough, the Keegan Dolly one, at 21 years old, the guy has been sought by a lot of different teams. He chose to go with Sundowns, who then loaned him straight back to the original club, Ajax Cape Town, with him looking to join Sundowns properly in the 2015-2016 season. What do you make of that? I understand there's some other things that are going on around that, Jody.
Yeah, something I just read up this morning is that the deal only kicks in effect next season. And if the interim, a club from Europe, signs Dolly, he will probably go to Europe and not join Sundowns at the end of the season. But then again, Sundowns will get a big chunk of that fee that they'll pay for, that the European club will pay for him.
Yeah. And then we're talking about the Majoro one. That's been coming for some time now. Now his agent, it's Tim, I think his first name is Suzaki. He reckons he's going to sue the guy for 10% of what the fee was, about just under 16 million rand over a 4-year period. And he wants it, and he's going to be suing him. And it's big news. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen that a player will sign without an agent's consent or knowledge. And Majoro shrugged it off, and he seems to be doing very well playing for Pirates.
Yeah, I think he's a player with a very, very big heart. Most players would actually, it would show in their performance, they would start to struggle on the pitch. And I think we need to actually applaud Majoro for the fact that despite the off-the-field controversies with regard to his contract with Sundowns and him and his manager, he's still able to rise up and perform. It's good for Orlando Pirates, but it's also good for Bafana because it gives Shakes Mashaba more options in terms of the striking force in the Bafana team.
I see you want to add.
Majoro, definitely one of my favorite players in the PSL, but an agreement between two clubs to buy a player should be a straightforward deal. But then you get things like agents, like sponsors, all get involved, and the amount of money, you're talking millions here. So it all becomes a very complex season, and something that should take a few days, a week, becoming a month-long negotiations, and at the end of the day, the deal doesn't even go through sometimes.
Talking a bit, you're talking about the money, just to give you out there a bit of an idea, Majoro was on a 16 million deal over 4 years, and literally it's been worked out by the transfermarket.com website. That is about 5 million per year. Keegan Dolly is about 3.2 million per year that Sundowns played Ajax. Mameni Young, Sundowns paid SuperSport United 6.3 per year. So it's quite a lot of money that we're talking about here. Now, Sundowns are a club much maligned for snapping our players and not fielding them. The fact seems to support this, though. For example, according to the same website that I just spoke about, 52 players in the PSL are on the squad list for Mamelodi Sundowns. Pirates have got 44 players and Chiefs have got 35. There is quite a big difference.
I think, you know, if you look at the big squad, Pete Sobinsimani believes in the squad system, but what happens is that he picks his core players, then he loans out the other players to the so-called smaller clubs. But I know that they are re-looking that system as well. The other thing that we need to look at is that, you know, Keegan Dolly, as a fantastic player, he hasn't played for Bafana Bafana, and what happens the minute you play an international, you become an international player, is that your value immediately goes to something of about $1 million, so you're worth about 8, 9, 10 million rand. So Keegan Dolly at 3.2 million, I think Sundowns got him fairly cheaply per season.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they are reviewing that system because I don't think it is working for Mamelodi Sundowns. Look at Kaizer Chiefs. They have just over 30 players, I think about 35, and they're doing well. So it goes on to show that as much as you may want to beef up your team, you cannot simply go out and sign a whole new team. Consistency is very important, and I think that's the difference right now between Kaizer Chiefs and the other teams. Chiefs have actually held on to their core players. They are without Knowledge Musona, of course, but you've seen the likes of George Libisi and Mandla Masango taking the responsibility to, you know what, last season they lost the league because there was too much reliance on Knowledge Musona, but this season Libisi and Maluleke and Masango have realized that you know what, we need to come to the party, and they're doing well. I still feel that they can be unleashed more, they can be imposed more, but yeah.
A classic example would be Orlando Pirates. Yes, they're doing well in the MTN 8 where they reached the final, but if you look where they're sitting in the league, because they have all these star players, these big name players, but as a unit they're struggling to find each other. Yeah. And so, you know, you can have the best players, but if they don't gel as a team and have that unit, yes, you know that they're not going to be worth anything for you.
One last thing which would be of interest to a lot of people would be that Edward Mangele, after signing a 5-year deal, is now left Mamelodi Sundowns because he was benched. And some people say that's the same thing that's going to happen to Keegan Dolly. Great performer that he is, if he does stay in South Africa, doesn't get snapped up by a European team, what's going to happen? He goes to Sundowns, sits on the bench, 2 years later is frustrated and moves sideways or downwards in terms of player value. But with that said, I just want to see what it is that people are saying about what's happening in the transfer market, because I do believe a lot of tweets have been going out there. You people have been commenting on what you think about the Majoros, the Mangales, as well as the Keegan Dollys and any of the others that have moved, and would like to see what you've got to say. We're going to bring up your tweets just now and share with everybody else and see what's going on. The first tweet that comes up, let's see, we've got Simpiwa Bisho saying Kaizer Chiefs have their own Malema, Masango, Lebesi, Maluleke, laugh out loud. Sundowns made my weekend with a 2-0 win, but I won't get too excited. Let them win the next game, then my bragging shall continue. That's toward your show. Let me see. All right, here's a Stifler saying, not happy with Kaizer Chiefs. We need strikers. What do you make of that, gentlemen?
Well,
the striker bid for Kaizer Chiefs. Are they missing strikers?
Well,
I mean, they won 5 out of 5.
Don't forget Bernard Parker, the main striker last season, who was the top goal scorer in the league. He's still out with an injury. So definitely, I think they need some firepower up front, and I don't think the other guys are stepping up. But saying that, Chiefs is still top of the
has been doing extremely well.
Sure. The way they play, in modern football, you need a playmaking function, and when you have a playmaking function, you don't necessarily need a lethal striker. So that's why you see the likes of Masango, Libisi, being able to score goals, and I don't think there's no need. So
you don't particularly agree with Stifler?
Yeah, their midfielders, their system right now allows their midfielders to push forward and be able to get into goal-scoring positions.
Well, let's see if we can get a few more tweets and comment on those as well. Quite like the fact that Stifler had that comment to make about us needing, Kaizer Chiefs needing more strikers. Right. Kuseli Sitole says something really good. Good morning indeed. One would swear we're looking at to do Bayern Munich and PSL. Impressive start. DJ Y says, yes, I'm happy. What's your take on PSL transfers? Are you happy with your club signings? Gentlemen, what would you say in terms of all the PSL teams that are out there? Which one has actually had the most the most useful policy in terms of the transfers? Jody?
I think if you look at the newcomers, Chipper United, obviously coming from the national...
They've been buying left, right and centre.
Yeah, something like 15 players, and that's just to add to their squad last year. Obviously, they're playing in a high league, so they needed reinforcements. Yep. They couldn't play with the players that won them in the national first division and compete. Like you saw, they got relegated after a season when they played previously. So Chipper United, I think there's some good things happening. They won the first game, they lost a few after that, but the season is still long. We've only had 4 games, and it's going to be interesting to see. And the big thing that's going to play a role this season is the squad system. You know, you can have your core players and they can be playing, but once your injury kicks in or a player loses form, the player sitting on the bench is going to have to step up and then take the team forward. And I think Chipper United could surprise a few things, but I think the big 3, Sundowns, Chiefs and Pirates, they will always set the pace in the league.
Sure. What do you think?
And Ajax as well. I think Ajax, their policy, promoting youngsters from the development, I think it has been working very well for them, the likes of Coutier. At his age already in the Bafana team. And they are second right now on the PSL log. So it shows that if clubs were also to start investing in the youth, there's a lot that, the country will actually benefit, not only clubs.
Just before we ring off, there's one last question I'd like to check with you on. The Kevin Johnson, SuperSport United coach, getting dropped like a hot potato. It was always coming. What do you make of that? I mean, there have been quite a few movements happening in and around different clubs. There were rumours about Gordon Egerson taking over his position. His agents have come back and said, nah, it's not happening. What do you make of that Kevin Johnson story?
Look, Kendall, what worries me is that there has always been a rumor from last season, towards the end of last season, there's always been a rumor of Gordon Egerson going to SuperSport United. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it was purely based on the results of Kevin Johnson or the availability of Gordon Egerson.
All right, interesting.
I think as a coach, you're going to be judged on results. Yeah. Another coach that got axed I saw this morning was Bobby Solomons at Polokwane City. They've also lost 4 in a row. So if the coaches are not going to perform just like players, they're going to be thrown out and replaced by new ones.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, really value your input. Thank you so much for coming through. That was Jody Hendricks, independent sports analyst, as well as Sipho Kekana, SABC News News and Sports journalist for SABC Digital, giving us the lowdown on what's happening in the PSL transfer market, as well as a little bit of what's happening in the PSL itself.